Welcome, class. In continuation of our discussion in the previous week related with the synchronization of supply chain with logistics, I hope we started our discussion with in the earlier class performance cycle structure. Now I'm just presenting you the next 2-3 cycles, how the performance cycles are related with connecting or interlinking the logistics with the supply chain synchronization. When you look into the next cycle, performance cycle, it is market distribution performance cycle. Market distribution operations are concerned with processing and delivering the customer orders. So it is an integral to sales performance because it provides timely and economical product availability. The overall process of gaining and maintaining the customers can be broadly divided into transaction creating physical fulfillment activities. So the transaction creating activities are generally in the marketing is advertising and selling. So the physical fulfillment activities. What are all the physical fulfillment activities which are part of linking supply chain, marketing, and the logistic together? The order transmission, order processing, order selection, order transportation, customer delivery. So from a logistical perspective, market distribution performance cycle, it links a supply chain with the end customers. That is outbound logistics, outbound supply chain logistics. Marketing is dedicated to satisfy the customer to achieve the highest possible sales penetration. So in most of the firms, marketing and sales impose liberal policies when it comes to accommodating customers. This may mean that marketing and sales will typically seek a broad product assortment supported with high inventory, that all customer requirements, no matter how small or how profitable, it has to be satisfied. So the marketing exception is that zero logistical defect service will be achieved across the supply chain and customer focused marketing efforts, which has to be supported. So this is a point which we need to keep in your mind regarding the distribution, market distribution performance cycle. Now we move on to the next discussion, manufacturing support performance cycle. Manufacturing is a node in a supply chain that creates firm value. To a significant degree, manufacturing efficiency depends on logistical support. To establish and maintain an orderly and economic flow of materials and work in process inventory as required by production schedules. The degree of specialization required in the market, specifically in the market distribution and procurement, can overshadow the importance of positioning the timely inventory movement to support the manufacturing. Because customers and suppliers are not involved, manufacturing logistics is less visible than its counterparts. So the identification of manufacturing logistical support as a distinct operating area, it is a relatively new concept. So earlier we've seen the performance cycles to support the production. It is a unique requirement on operational constraint of flexible manufacturing strategies. So to provide maximum flexibility, the traditional manufacturing practices related to the economy of scale are being re-evaluated to accommodate a quick product switchover and shorter production runs. Exacting the logistical support between supply chain participants, it is required to perfect such time-sensitive manufacturing strategies. So you just synchronize the logistics part here. What is the logistic manufacturing support? It has to facilitate the what, where, and when of production and not the how part of it, right? So the goal is to support the manufacturing requirements in the most efficient manner. So manufacturing support operations are significantly different than either the market distribution or the procurement, which we have seen in the earlier classes. So manufacturing support logistics is typically this is captive within the organization. This is the inbound logistics operations. The other two must be deal with the performance, that is behavioral uncertainty across the logistics supply chain. Even in situations where outsourced contract manufacturing is used to augment the internal capacity, overall control of a single enterprise is greater than in the other two operating areas. So this is a point I'd like to stress on. What is this manufacturing logistical support, which that component has to be integrated, synchronized with supply chain. So in this class, I've started my discussion with market distribution performance cycle, and then we had a discussion on manufacturing support performance cycle. Now I'm taking you to the procurement performance cycle, the fourth component. We started first one in the last week, then the next two in the present week, and now the fourth component, procurement performance cycle. Say, what are the procurement performance cycle components which needs to be linked with the supply chain? The sourcing, order placement and expediting, transportation, receiving. These activities are required to complete the procurement process. So once the materials, parts, or the resale, the products are received, the subsequent storage, handling, and transportation requirements to facilitate either the manufacturing or market distribution appropriately provided by other performance cycles, whatever we discussed in the earlier classes. And this specific procurement is part of an inbound logistics. So compared with synchronizing the logistics with the supply chain, we started our discussion under 4 performance cycles. One, performance cycle structure. Second, we had our discussion in today's class, market distribution performance cycle. Then manufacturing support performance cycle. Then the third one, procurement performance cycle. Now I am taking you to the performance cycle uncertainty. So also part of what are the various uncertainties which a company has to face, the challenges before synchronizing logistics with supply chain. A major objective of logistics in all operating areas are to reduce performance cycle uncertainty. The dilemmas we have is that the structure of a performance cycle itself the operating conditions, and the quality of logistical operations, all combined randomly to introduce operational variance. So the performance cycle is limited to finished goods inventory delivery. The time distribution statistically reflects the performance history for each task of typical performance cycle. So in terms of specific task, the variance results from nature of the work involved. So order transmission is highly reliable through our IT-based communication. Regardless of the type of technology we deployed, operational variance will occur as a result of daily changes in the workload and the resolution of the unexpected events based on the demand. So time and the variance related to order processing or the function of which will reflect in workload, degree of automation, and the policy related with the fund credit approval and all. In addition, the order selection speed, the associated delays are directly related to the capacity, the material handling sophistication, the human resources availability. So when a product is out of stock, the time to complete the order selection, which is part of manufacturing schedule, everything gets interlinked. The required transportation time. So up to this, what we discussed are all inbound part. The outbound part, the transportation time, it is a function of the distance, shipment, the size, and the type of transport and the operating conditions. And the transportation is also extending till the final delivery to the customers, depending on authorized receiving time, delivery appointments, the workforce availability, and this loading unloading of different equipments, material handling equipments at the nodes of warehouse. From there it has to reach the retailer or the direct customers. So this is a point I want to make it very clear. In this synchronizing effort, we discussed our points with market distribution performance cycle, manufacturing performance cycle, and what are the performance cycle constraints. So this point concept I want to make you very clear. I'm going to explain you the concept with a caselet also. How the supply chain responsiveness improves at a leading European grocery retailer. I'm presenting you a small case. Listen to the case and how effectively you can present it. Okay. So before going to see the case study, let me summarize the entire content of the unit, what we discussed. We started with discussion with so in this specific unit, we started our discussion with what is logistics value proposition. Then I've also introduced what is the meaning of customer service and the customer benefits in the context of supply chain and logistics. And the third part, I've covered work of logistics 1 and 2, where we discuss various models related with logistics. And in the last week and this present week, we synchronize the efforts of how far the logistics and supply chain both are connected, interrelated. So this is a summary. Logistics is the part of supply chain process that plans, implements, and controls the effective forward and reverse flow of storage of goods, services, and related information between the point of origin and the point of consumption. Everything we are doing it for the purpose of meeting the customer requirements. And logistic can also be defined in a different way of designing and managing of a system in order to control the flow of material throughout the organization. And also introduce you the concept of what is supply chain here. It is a systematic, strategic coordination of traditional business functions and the tactics across these business functions within a particular company and across the business within the supply chain for the purpose of improving the long-term performance of the individual companies and the supply chain as a whole. And we also discuss cost. The logistics cost is one form of important part of the overall cost structure of the organization. I'm just giving you the summary points, clear? And then well-defined logistical effort, how to make it possible. Because we must reach out higher customer response and capability while controlling the operational variance like minimizing the inventory commitment, etc. So inventory has limited value and because it has to be positioned at the right time at the right location to support the manufacturing process and create it. It also be considered as a value added creation activity. And we also discussed about the three important functional areas of logistics, that is order processing, inventory, and transportation, which can be connected, coordinated into a variety of different operational arrangements. And there are other views also, like logistics is also viewed as a competency that links an enterprise with its customers and the suppliers. So the operational management of logistics is normally concerned with the movement and storage of materials and finished products. So this is the understanding I want to make you to keep that in your mind. So logistical operations start with the initial shipment of material or component part from a supplier and are finalized when a manufactured or processed product is delivered to a customer. And the potential for logistics services normally favorably impact the customer directly, which needs a lot of logistic operation system design planning and all, but it has a direct impact on the customer satisfaction. And the last part, what we discuss is synchronization. It is the ability to cooperate or coordinate, organize, and manage the end-to-end supply chain flows, product, services, information, and the finance, that's the fund, in such a way that the supply chain functions are acting as a single entity wherein this logistics is part of it. So I also introduced various concepts related to this, maybe the inbound logistics, outbound logistics. And we also seen how effectively this logistics can be coordinated or linked with the overall supply chain management in terms of reaching out supply chain efficiency. So now that next 20 minutes or 15 minutes, I just want to present you a simple example. Listen to this, and at the end I may ask you some questions and we'll also have discussion on it. So how does a leading European grocery retailer with nearly 1,000 stores and over 10 million SKUs, stock keeping units, respond when the need to cater to rising the consumer income, expectations, and individualism, which translates into higher supply chain complexity and costs? What is the answer for this question? The answer might be improved visibility and enhance the collaboration between the retail stores and the central functions in order to replenish the stores more efficiently At the same time, we are lowering the logistics cost. Working with a leading edge supply chain consulting firms, the retailer realized increasingly unpredictable nature of consumer behavior makes the planning more and more difficult. This is one important point. The unpredictable behavior of the consumer, which will just react the planning part of our logistics. More time is spent on planning, but the results are less valuable because planning involves making assumptions about what will happen rather than reacting to what the customers are actually doing. And consequently, the retailer determined that only way to respond to increase the customer demand was to build the process and define the rules that required less day-to-day planning. So a recent research was done. I'm just presenting what the retailers view in the context of the base research. So 10 years ago, we made a fundamental choice to no longer believe in the power of forecasting. We don't believe in the predictability of customer behavior. As the offer in products, information, and services keeps growing, the forecasting is getting more difficult. They quickly determined that this required development of highly automated replenishment process with a single point of identifying customer demand or demand forecasting and centralized control management. So now the view is totally changed. Now the supply chain is designed as a full chain with input from customer behavior and the forecasting models. So the base for logistics is what the customer buys, supported by the other parameters around when do customers visit. So this is the response from the retailers. So decision and store planning and forecasting needed to be much more reactive, which required the availability of the continuous real-time information. So we need to set a kind of real-time information base which will help to sort out all the issues. In the case of traditional process were typically built around the batch process cycle, usually one analysis per day. Moving from a batch to a flow system, that is a real-time system, which was facilitated batch to flow system, which facilitated individualized delivery schedules based on the geography, transport cost, type of merchandise. But it's not that all the time you need to go for real time. We need to work out with batch time also, such as deliveries to the distribution center from suppliers, or even the start of new promotion if the company wants to provide to a new market. The emphasis is on continuous flow of information with no artificial barriers. So now to determine how much a particular product to send to a particular store requires knowledge of the present as well as the historic service level and the constraint of both the product and the store. So as now you may be aware of different data analytics with the help of the recent Industry 4.0 revolution. We'll be able to catch up the data with the help of analytic tools using R platform or Python or blockchain or even cloud computing. This advancement of Industry 4.0 technologies have made us to understand what the real requirement of a store, customer store. So each store combination has a unique set of parameters. That's why we are fixing metrics for doing how to forecast customer demand. So for some products, specifically for dry groceries, the parameter is very simple. When one full case is sold, we have to order for the new case because it is not a perishable in nature. But for the items like fresh products, like dairy products or ice creams or something like that, where we need to find out factors like desire for freshness, the attractive presentation, and the cost of shrinkage must all be taken into account before deciding the order schedule. Predictive forecasting, that's what I said. Earlier we use uh, quantitative based forecasting. Now we are using predictive forecasting. So only we used for special situations or crisis situations, such as the company wants to introduce promotions or event management activities, which will have kind of a cyclic reactions in the forecast of customer demand. Say once a promotion is started, however, ordering is quickly adjusted to reflect the actual consumer behavior in the store. This is happening with the help of real-time point of sales data. Another response from the retailers are the replenishment process is now fully automated. Maybe many companies they have a central control room where based on the customer demand, the warehouse can be operated, warehouse can be approached, where already they keep a stock of the required material which can be managed. And the entire process of central warehousing, how it reaches to the different retailers or to the individual customers, where they have they can even monitor the assortment behavior and the effect of the weather, the differences in revenues compared to various local stores. Because all they kept it in one place, which was centrally integrated, and the responsibility is with the central warehousing unit, which will take care of the requirements from various local stores. So what is the focus of the local store? They only have to focus on the sales. And the store that is cleaning the display of the product available, keeping the product always as per the requirement of the customers, the display, window displaying and all, and the customer attention. These are the three parts they need to concentrate at the retailer aspect. So the central department which decides what products comes in and what amounts and prescribes how to fill the store. The store just has to execute it, that's all. So as a result of these kind of enhancements to their material planning and replenishment processes, now the retailers were able to realize some substantial benefits, including 50% of the reduction of their stocks, and they be capable of increasing satisfying the customer demand at the increased rate of 50%. And the amount of time the employees spend on the store processing, it has declined significantly because the display of goods, way they display the goods, fewer leftovers and less time spent on ordering, which has translated the entire employees to work directly with the customer. They spend most of the time with creating a better relationship with their customers. So these are all some of the benefits which a company can get if they synchronize supply chain with the logistics in the retail outlet or in the distribution outlet. In addition, a supplier investigation into the product availability also proved that availability increased 14% during the promotions. The next result of creating a collaborative, automated real-time event-driven system, which has increased the confidence that on any given day, a customer who walks to any of the retailer store will leave with satisfaction. This is a kind of confidence the company is creating on the minds of the customers with the help of synchronizing supply chain with the transportation, logistics, and other parts of the components. So after looking into these details, I'm just adding additional point on how will you define the term customer satisfaction. This is the ultimate objective of every organization, those who are dealing with integrating or synchronizing supply chain activity with the logistics. Generally, we define in the context of marketing, customer satisfaction is the degree to which the customer expectations of any product or any services are met or exceeded. So this is a general way of defining. In the logistics, which exists to satisfy the customer requirements by facilitating important manufacturing and marketing operations. So what is the most demanding service commitment here? It is to focus on facilitating customer success. So an integrated success program which takes care of related commitments from the customers by synchronizing SCM, that is supply chain, logistics, and the marketing activities in order to focus the long-term business relationship that have growth potential and offer a high probability of achieving the desired results. There are many ways of measuring the customer satisfaction, maybe understanding the customer needs and their expectations from the service what we are providing, and the tangibilizing the service offering, dealing with different types of variety of people, and keeping the promises whatever the company has made to the customers. But mostly the challenge is measuring and monitoring the quality of the service what we offer in the context of logistics, how the company is capable of making it. While answering the question, we do have certain kind of questions comes to our mind. How the service quality can be defined and improved in the context of logistics, how the service firm be certain that the communication has been effective to make the customer is really happy with the end of the day. So we do have certain basic operational objectives wherein the logistics really help in achieving, maximizing the customer satisfaction. This is what the last part of our discussion today. With that, I'm just presenting you how we started the logistical value proposition, how it leads to customer benefits, and what are the various work of logistics, the different models we discussed. And recently we end up with how the supply chain synchronization is possible in the context of logistics. So now at the end, I'm presenting you end with this entire unit discussion with how do we measure the customer satisfaction specifically in the context of logistics. This is what this really makes you sense that ultimately every organization how to achieve it, how to make it with the help of this logistics. This is what our last point of discussion. Of course, this is possible in the context of logistics with the help of the first point of discussion, rapid response. What is this rapid response? It is concerned with the firm's capability to satisfy the customer service requirement in a timely manner. I hope most of us we have the experience of ordering the product in the e-commerce portal. how eager we are in receiving the product within a day or within a week, within 3 days. If before the promised day of delivery, they have promised to deliver you the product within next 4 days, but they've delivered you the product the third day itself. How happy we are, no, by linking. So that kind of rapid response happen through the logistics, which will make the customer satisfied ultimately. And the second point, the minimum variance. Variance is an unexpected event that disrupts the performance of the system. So specifically, we talk about the variance which may result from any aspect of logistical operation context. Okay, the delays in expected time of customer order is you are receiving, you're waiting for the product. They've already promised you to deliver the product in 4 days, within 4 days, but they've just sent you a message saying that it may take one more day. So that is a kind of uninterrupted. You didn't even accept it, but you have to. That's a way, unexpected disruption. In terms of, it may happen in the manufacturing end, or the customer may receive the damaged goods at the time of logistics, the transportation part where damage may take place. That's because of the delivery happen in the incorrect location. Again, it may be returned back, and then you're sourcing the customer where the location is exactly. So this kind of variances result in time disruption in operations that must also have a cyclic effect of customer satisfaction, which must be identified and resolved. In keeping the minimum inventory as the aim of any minimum variance involves with asset commitments and relative turn velocity. So total commitment, what we feel is the financial value of the inventory what a company is deploying throughout the logistics system. There are, in order to meet out the consistently the customer service goal, at least the overall logistic cost should be zero. The zero inventory has to be maintained, which is another important issue which will directly impact our customer satisfaction. Inventories normally provide improved return on investment when they result in the economies of scale in manufacturing or at the procurement end. So to achieve the minimum inventory, the logistics system design should control the commitment and turn the velocity for the entire firm, not only for each business location. The next point of discussion which provides for customer satisfaction in the context of logistic operations is consolidated movement. The most important logistics cost of transportation, as we note already. This cost is also directly proportional to the type of the product, the size of the shipment, and the distance. So to achieve this, it requires innovative programs to group the small shipments for consolidated movement. And the next point of discussion is improvement in quality. The quality, we are not talking about the product quality, the quality of service what they offer. So we have a common term called total quality management, which has become a major commitment, which is a way of life for every organization. So the quality challenge is illustrated by the fact that most logistical work is performed due to the supervisor's vision. Then the last point of discussion, which is directly impacting our customer satisfaction, is life cycle support. Very few items are sold without some guarantee that the product will perform as advertised over a period of time. So the normal value-added inventory flow towards a customer must be reversed. So a product recall program is similar to a strategy which will maximize the customer service that must be executed regardless of the cost. And even the operational requirements of the reverse logistics range from lowest total cost, returning the bottles for recycling, to maximum performance solutions at the time of critical recalls. Okay. So to conclude, what are all the major components which are contributing in the context of logistical operations which will improve the customer satisfactions? The rapid response, the minimum variance, the minimum inventory, the consolidated movement, the improvement in the quality, and finally the life cycle support, the lifelong support. So this really makes a sense of making, relating, linking, improving the customer satisfaction. Thank you for listening.